I think number one, the Bears are building things the right way. We talked about it on BR, but last offseason, it was a lot of flashy moves. DeAndre Swift, day one of free agency, who can forget that? Trade for Keenan Allen. You draft Rome Odunze. This year, it's the trenches, right? It's getting Joe Tooney. It's getting Jonah Jackson. It's getting Dahlman. It's, even though I don't love the Grady Jarrett signing, he's still someone that is going to be a starter for you. And Dio as well, I know you're a big fan of, even though I have some questions about what he looks like.
I'll sleep on the
Yeah, so they're building things the right way. The other two, I think the Commanders have made the two most impactful moves out of everybody, right? They haven't made a lot of moves. They've re-signed a lot of people, but the two huge moves they made were Laramie Tunsil. You're getting a top 5 left tackle in the sport, and Deebo Samuel, who with Cliff Kingsbury, I think could really make some things happen. I think outside of maybe Devontae Adams and Milton Williams, like those are going to be two of the most impactful moves. And the last one's for Denver. I think the defense is flawless. I think this defense right now, you really cannot have any questions about.
I think the NFC North is just the best division in football. I think they're all well ran. I mean, the Packers, they had the Aaron Banks move, which I didn't like, but the Nate Hobbs move pretty much completes their secondary and makes them one of the best secondaries in the league, especially if Jair stays and he's healthy. The offense, even with not having like a top-end wide receiver, they'll still be at minimum a good offense. So we'll see what they do in the draft. The Bears had a phenomenal offseason. The Vikings had a phenomenal offseason. And the Lions, getting DJ Reed to be that Carlton Davis replacement, counting on those younger guys to improve. And then, just Roy Lopez from the Cardinals, he's going to be really good as a pass rusher there. And Derek Barnes, the linebacker they re-signed who got hurt this past year, when he's healthy, he's really good, and they got him on a steal. So I think the Lions are still making some good moves, cost-cutting and efficient moves. I think all these 4 teams, they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot and for the division crown.
For me, I got 3. So Chargers and Panthers, more trust in home. For 2 different reasons. Obviously, Chargers, they did bring back Khalil Mack, but I think they're trusting in the process, trusting in their scouting department, and trusting in their coaches just go through the draft and figure this thing out. We'll have money for next offseason if things do pan out. But you got to look at this team, and at first, people didn't have them making the playoffs. People thought this would be a rebuild year, myself included. They ended up making the playoffs, and of course, as we all talk about, specifically me and Drew, expectations change when the playoffs happen. Their expectation was to win a playoff game once they got there. They had the Texans. People dubbed the Texans kind of one of the worst teams in the playoffs. You had you didn't have home field advantage, but you had a situation where you were the favorites and the Texans were not surging. They were more struggling at that point. You end up blowing that game. But I think they're going to trust their process. For the Carolina Panthers, it's more re-signing a lot of their guys back and trusting in the fact that Bryce Young showed immense improvement throughout the year last year and trusting in the process of building this offense through the draft. You had Chuba Hubbard, who also had a breakout year last year. You're still trying to figure out that wide receiving core, but that's what the draft is for. Defensively, you've brought in guys also basically bringing back the guys you had last year, as we talked about the J.C. Horn. I don't love the J.C. Horn money, but I think when he's on the field, he's really good. It's just about getting on the field. And then the third team is trusting the old guy, and that's the Rams. Trusting in the old guy of Matthew Stafford. And the fact that he can still play at a high level. He's still very much a clutch guy in the fourth quarter. He can still dissect defenses. So why not give him a guy who's more reliable in Devontae Adams as opposed to Cooper Kupp, keeping Puka Nacua. He does have an injury problem throughout his first couple years in the NFL, but Devontae Adams has been probably one of the most reliable guys as of late throughout the season, in terms of just being a guy who can get separation. His hands are still up there. He can still beat guys. And then defensively, just bringing in Poona Ford. I think they're going to have a really good draft, so that's something to look forward to. I think the Rams are gearing up for another run.
Like that. Got hot takes?
All right, yes. I can happily get my 3 off real quick. Hot takes. A sophomore quarterback will win MVP. A sophomore quarterback will make it to the AFC or NFC championship. A sophomore quarterback will win the Super Bowl.
They're all the same thing.
Who's that sophomore quarterback? It's for us to decide.
So that means so we have Michael Penix, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, and
so what? That's 20% of the no. That's 10% of the NFL.
That's 20%.
Realistically, 20%? Penix will not be in this conversation.
Yeah,
most of them in the NFC.
But outside of Michael Penix, A sophomore quarterback will have strong success this
So we
season.
got 4 out of 32.
I got one. I got three. First one, Eagles and Rams, early NFC Championship game. I'm stamping that right now. Eagles and Rams, 1-2 seed, NFC Championship game. I'm really strong on this one, and I said it on the live, so I'll say it again. J.J. McCarthy has a better year than Sam Darnold did last year. I'm putting that in. I really love J.J.
like that.
McCarthy's traits.
4,335 touchdowns.
I think he can do it.
And absolutely took it, crumpled it up, threw it away with 2 games.
I think J.J. McCarthy, I really liked his tape. Watched it the other day. That Michigan tape is some calm, cool,
that dude has a
collected
rocket.
tape. Has a really good arm. I think he's a really good, smart quarterback. And I think with those weapons at your disposal, I mean, you really can't have a bad year. So and then you have that play calling, that offensive genius you got over there. I really trust in J.J. McCarthy to get this shit going.